Squiz Kids acknowledges the traditional owners of the lands on which we podcast, the Turrbal and Combermary people.
Squiz Kids!
It's your daily news fix. Fun, free, fresh.
Hello and welcome to Squiz Kids Today, your fresh take on what's happening in the world around you. I'm Bryce Corbett. It's Monday, October 16. In Squiz Kids Today, Australia votes no. 16-year-old mayors in Malta. Big weekend sports wrap, and is Tay-Tay bigger than Barbie? That's what's making news, kids style.
The lowdown.
After months of back and forth campaigning, almost a year of speculation and debate, and after some 18 million Australians trudged off to schools and community halls to vote on the weekend, the referendum on an Indigenous voice to Parliament was defeated, with 60% of the country voting no. As we've talked about before, a referendum is a yes or no question put to the Australian people about whether to change the Constitution, which is like the rule book by which the country is run. In this instance, the referendum was asking Australians whether they agreed to change the Constitution to recognise Indigenous Australians and give them a voice in matters that affect them. Sort of how, like, the Student Representative Council works at your school. Now, as we've learned in the Squiz Kids special podcast, Gang Gang's Guide to Referendums, it's pretty hard for a referendum to succeed. I've stuck a link to that podcast in the episode notes. In the 45 referendums that have taken place in the history of modern Australia, only 8 of them have succeeded. Not least because, for a referendum to succeed, you need a double majority. Which is to say, a majority of voters across the country, more than 50%, plus a majority of states, which means 4 out of the 6 states. All 6 of the Australian states in the weekend's referendum voted no, with the ACT being the only territory that voted yes. Yesterday, it was an outcome that was being described as deeply disappointing for Indigenous Australians. An extra special reason for Squiz Kids to reach out the hand of kindness to their Indigenous brothers and sisters this week. In other polling booth news, our neighbours New Zealand have a new Prime Minister after a general election was held on Saturday over there. The new PM is a man called Christopher Luxon, whose victory has brought to an official end the era of politics across the ditch dominated by former Kiwi PM Jacinda Ardern.
Spin the globe.
Each day we give the world globe a spin and find a news story from wherever it stops. And today we've landed in Malta, an island country in the Mediterranean Sea in Europe, where kids as young as 16 years old are allowed to become mayor. So, what's a mayor, I hear you ask? It's a person who is the head of a town or a local council. And it's usually a job that's done by people a little older than 16. The decision has led to lots of commentary in Malta, including people pointing out that you need to be 18 to hold a driver's licence. But under this new scenario, while a 16-year-old mayor could conduct a wedding ceremony, they would need mum or dad to drive them to that ceremony. Squiz Kids resident teacher Christy has made some excellent classroom companion worksheets today tied to this story. They're curriculum aligned and a great way for teachers to extend their kids' engagement with news and current affairs. If you're a teacher and you haven't yet signed up to this totally free, totally cool resource, then jump on over to squizkids.com.au.
Sport time.
Wowzers, what a weekend it has been in sport. It's kind of hard to know where to begin. Argentina pulled off a remarkable come-from-behind victory over Wales to advance to the Rugby World Cup semi-finals in France over the weekend, while New Zealand just scraped together a win over Ireland, sending the Irish packing and the Kiwis into the semi-finals too. In cricket, Australia got smashed by South Africa over the weekend and now plays Sri Lanka tomorrow night in the World Cup in India, while host country India posted a win over long-time rivals Pakistan. And then there was the Rugby League Pacific Test matches, where the men's team, the Kangaroos, smashed Samoa 38-12, while the Jillaroos, our women's rugby league team, notched up a win against New Zealand, winning 16-10. Go, you good things.
Pop Culture Corner.
We know Taylor Swift is big, right? But is it possible that she's more popular than the Super Mario Brothers and Barbie? That's the question being asked after the movie of her current era's world tour raked in over $160 million as it opened in cinemas this weekend just gone. Tay-Tay, though, has got a little bit of work to do to catch up with Super Mario Brothers and Barbie, which both sold more than $1 billion, that's billion with a B, worth of tickets at the movie box office. But I have a feeling she'll do it on her finely tuned ear. In other news to excite Swifties everywhere, the countdown is on for the re-release of 1989, the album that made her a worldwide star. She's been busy re-recording the hits from that album, including Bad Blood, Blank Space and Shake It Off, and will be releasing them on October 27. Hashtag exciting.
Q&A call out.
Hey team, don't forget to send in your questions to former Aussie PM Julia Gillard, who's agreed to take the Squiz Kids hot seat for a Squiz Kids Q&A. Now, you know the drill. Send in any questions that you, the kids of Australia, would like to ask, and we'll select the best 10 to put to her. Thank you to those of you who have already sent questions in. They're excellent. And a shout out to Akila, who wants to know what it was like to be Australia's first female Prime Minister, and why her parents migrated from Wales to Australia. And also to Molly, who's asking Miss Gillard if she ever got treated differently as a female politician. And also a shout out to Olive, who clearly knows a lot about the former PM and wants to know if she still wishes when she was at school she could have done woodwork instead of cooking and sewing. Great questions. If you've got a question you'd love to ask former PM Gillard, you better get cracking. You've only got until Friday morning to get your questions in. So, don't just sit there. Get submitting questions already. Send them to squizkids@thesquiz.com.au.
Squiz Kids Live.
Well, wasn't that a whole lot of fun? A big thanks to all of the Squiz Kids who came to our very first Squiz Kids live show in Canberra on Saturday. There was science experiments live on stage, we took a trip to Mars, we did a live kids versus adult quiz, it was a draw for the record, we had heaps of fun at our daytime disco, and for a moment there, I had a 3-metre Burmese python called Bernie wrapped around my neck. Check the Squiz Kids Instagram and Facebook for photos. Extra special thanks for those of you who travelled a long way to attend the show, including families from Culcairn, Sydney, and even Newcastle. We'll create a podcast from the live recording, so keep an eye out for that. And yes, we're already hatching plans to bring the show to other cities around the country, so stay tuned. Meet Alex Ryder. On the outside, he looks like any other teenager, but deep down, he hides a super cool secret. He's the world's greatest teenage super spy, and in his ongoing battle against the evil forces of Nightshade, he's about to face his toughest mission yet. If you're like me and you like your books to be filled with adventure, action, and heaps of adrenaline, then Alex Ryder, Nightshade Revenge, is just the read you've been waiting for. He's a teenage James Bond. And what's not to love about that? It's the 14th in the excellent Alex Ryder Spy series, a series that sold over 21 million copies around the world. Keep an eye spy out for it in bookstores, and also the link in our episode notes today.
Time for the quiz.
This is the part of the podcast where you get to test how well you've been listening. Question number 1. Which team did New Zealand beat in the Rugby World Cup in France to advance to the semi-finals? Yeah, well done if you've got your listening ears on and you said Ireland. Question number 2. At what age can people in Malta become mayor? Yeah, that's right. It's 16. Question number 3. Which 2 mega movies is it possible Taylor Swift's eras to a movie could topple in the ticket sales stakes? Yeah, that's right. The 2 movies I'm talking about are Super Mario Brothers and Barbie.
Shout outs.
It's October 16. Today is World Bread Day. So enjoy your toast or sandwiches today. It's also the first day of term 4 for school kids in South Australia and Tassie. Hope you enjoyed your holidays. It's also a special day for these Squiz Kids celebrating a birthday today and tomorrow. Evelyn and Liam from Abbotsford, Hunter and Georgie from Mount Eliza, Grace from Adelaide, Tamsin from Paraperu, Van from Burleigh Heads, Ryan from Cabramatta, Lily from Albion Park, Daniel from Foster, Hayley from Condoblin, Hannah from Mount Gravatt, Olivia from Cobbitty, Romy from the Central Coast, John from Camp Hill and Cecilia from Middle Harbour. And belated birthday shout-outs today go to Josh from Parkside, Ryan from Bradbury, Cooper from Claymore, and Tavi from Woonona. And it's a big welcome back to classroom shout-outs, starting with Class HB22 and Miss Black at Woongarra Public School, Class Holden and Miss Hart at Oran Park Public School, Class 5M and Mrs Roberts at St Matthew's Primary School in Page, Class 2R and Miss Graham at Redham House in New South Wales, Classes Wombats, Major Mitchells and Rosellas at Warragamba Public School, and finally to Class 4 Diamonds and Mrs Sullivan at Jordan Springs Public School. Don't forget, if you've got a birthday coming up and you want a shout out, or if you're after a classroom shout out, drop us a line at squizkids@thesquiz.com.au or fill out the form on our website. Well, that's all we have time for. Thanks for listening to Squiz Kids today. We'll be back again tomorrow with an excellent Squiz the World episode on Canada. In the meantime, get out there and have a most excellent day. Over and out.